Storiers, Storiers.
I tell people, like, we rented out the whole theater.
That's funny. You could do this too if you were a story. To let you know. Something to aspire to.
Alright, so Infinity War villain. My main thing here. Say it! Say it! In any kind of big action movie, the biggest thing for me is the villain. Like, that makes or breaks pretty much every. I can't say pretty much and then every.
Right.
Alright, so that makes or breaks every movie. I'm just every. Okay?
I disagree with that. Ant-Man had not really a good villain. It's still a good movie. So I think there's plenty of good movies, but you can't have a great movie. There's no great movie if the villain's bad, but you can have a good movie.
So to me, poor villains were kind of Avengers, in my opinion. Like the
first Avengers?
Kind of both, man. The Chitauri alien. Do you like the villain?
In this movie?
Yeah.
Greatest cinematic superhero villain of all time. Hands down.
Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave?
Only person that probably comes close is Heath Ledger Joker.
Okay,
that's the only one that really comes close. Like Zod was good back in the day.
Kneel before Zod!
But Zod was actually not very good, but it was, you know, back then it was like, oh, it's great. But
yeah,
Lex Luthor, Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor was good.
No, he was very good.
He was very
especially for that world.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was very good.
Jack Nicholson Joker was good.
He was great.
And I mean, like, I don't think there's a huge list of great cinematic superhero villains. Oh my God, Alfred Molina, Dr. Octopus from Spider-Man 2.
You don't have to. So I'm not even talking about comic universe. Just in general, Mission Impossible tends to have some like pretty powerful villains. Pretty treacherous. All right, so why? So Thanos, greatest villain. Why? What are the things that make a great villain? Make him a great villain?
The thing that makes the greatest villain is you have to be sympathetic. They did a good job of making him a sympathetic villain, mainly from that moment with Gamora. And he actually had a valid argument. So of course his beans was outrageous, but his argument was valid. His thought process was weird, because why not just snap your fingers and replenish everything?
I know you mean well. You just didn't think it through.
There is that.
There is that.
Bit of a hole.
So that's why you're kind of a homicidal, like, maniac.
You get these like little glimpses of hope, only to be shattered. And by the end of it, you're like, oh, dude, this guy's. So here's the other thing. Marvel did this in Daredevil with Fisk. He's one of my favorite all-time villains. Kingpin, Daredevil season 1, and part of the reason I thought he was so great, and they have so much time. That's the two things that these have in common. They have all this build up, and so you get these little hints of who Thanos is and how this dude is like larger than life evil, and so they had all this time to kind of build this folklore, this legend up, and then when you see him, you're like, yep, this is the real deal.
That's what I mean about the sympathetic part. You have to find an angle into the villain where the audience still cares.
Complexity.
Yep.
And that's the thing. A lot of storytellers are doing wrong.
That's just totally wrong. It's just like wrong. It's just wrong.
Got this villain that's super one-sided, super flat as a character, and like they're just all evil.
Give me another reason that he's a good villain.
Where the mistakes they made in the past, I think they did right this time, and that was give his underlings characteristics and a face. They had 4 characters who each were distinct.
That's true.
They were powerful. Mm-hmm. They were forced. I mean, they were given it to the Avengers at different points.
But they had no character arc at all.
They didn't have a character arc, but they were characters. They were faces. The Faceless Legion stuff just doesn't work. They did so much better than the other.
All they did with those 4 to me, though, is they gave them a face, but they could have been faces underneath. Because they still have faceless underlings,
No.
and they just put them as like some lieutenants. I mean, honestly, I feel that way. Except for, I was about to call him Onamar Sin, but that's a complete. But yeah, what was that guy's name? I read. Oh man, it'll come back to me because I read the story.
We'll flash it on the screen.
And now him, they gave a little bit of character, but the rest of them, the ones that attack Scarlet Witch and Vision, are like married or a couple. Did you get that from the movie?
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, just making sure. Oh, you didn't know that? To me, they're basically just cannon fodder. Like, take the big Rocky guy. What did he do to show up and lose an arm and then to lose his life?
So compare it to the other Avengers. Which would you rather see?
I'm glad they did it that way. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there's any other way they can do it, but I just don't think they weren't necessarily good villains. You see, we're just talking about what makes a good villain. You could have took them out, and Thanos would have been a great villain.
No, I don't think
Still
so.
have been a great villain.
I think when you diversify, make people powerful, the generals and everyone that's under them, and make it more of an army versus just one person. You know, you got all these superheroes, and then you got a guy that people are worried about. Like, I think it's good that the guy comes up behind, that it's not Thanos, that comes up behind Vision and stabs him.
You're saying a great villain needs great underlings.
No.
You just don't get it, do you?
So I'm not saying this makes Thanos necessarily better, though I think you can make that argument.
Now, listen, I think that actually is a pretty valid point. You know what I'm saying? Because like how you explained it, like, so if you have these underlings that you can show to be powerful, and you have somebody waiting in the wings, you just changed my opinion. You know what I'm saying? But I think they suck as
So
villains.
this never happens.
They're not good villains.
This does not happen.
Yeah.
Look, I promise it'll never happen again.
Bruce Lee's movies, great
They
example.
always had somebody. So you had the
So you
guy.
got layers of
You got the
people.
guy, but they're not punks either. So he'll fight the like 30 dudes in the dojo and beat the crap out of them, all of them. But then you got the one or two guys that like, okay, they're not just like a piece of cake. Oh, it
So,
is.
also, that's a very video gamey way of doing things. How you have set bosses and you get to the end and you have the last final boss. That's kind of how video games set up all their storytelling. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, well, not every video game, but you beat this level boss at level 1, then you beat a harder boss at level 2, a harder boss at level 3, and then you get to the final boss. And theoretically, that final boss should be your greatest challenge. I think that's a technique you can use to enhance your villain.
Yes.
But I don't know
and
if
that's all.
alone it makes a
and
great
that's
villain.
all I'm saying. All your characters can't just be throwaway characters. There has to be something to it. Throwaway characters, their deaths are meaningless.
Another thing that I think makes a great villain, and it's a small thing, but your villain has to have some pretty good one-liners. All that for a drop of blood. It's great. That's great. Your villain has to be cool.
Face it, man, I'm the cool guy.
Well, what made the whole movie work was that you took the hero's journey through his character. You see what I'm saying? So he actually drove his quest for the rings and everything, drove the story forward. So in a sense, he was almost the hero of the story.
I'm not the bad guy here.
And the Avengers were the bad guys and the obstacles he had to get past to make his goal. That's the reason why that movie worked and they were able to wield so many characters.
So because he arced.
Because he arced. And so if they did not do that for Thanos, that movie would just been like cacophony. If Thanos wasn't a great villain with a journey, he was just, I come in, I beat up. You know what I'm saying? And you didn't sympathize with him. People wouldn't like that movie. People like that movie because of Thanos.
Again, great villain.
Great villain.
That makes
great
the movie.
Great villain. That was a great choice on the part of the screenwriters. I wish I knew their names right now. It was two guys. Christopher Marcus. That might be one. I actually think that might be one of them. And I was about to say Tim Seeley. That's the writer. I do think those guys wrote a very, very tight script. They wrote an amazing script for this kind of movie. You know what I'm saying? So
There you have it.
there you have it. Infinity War story breakdown, good villain. Hope you got some value out of that, everybody.
Best villain ever. Agree, disagree.
Agree.
Love to hear your thoughts, comments, other villains you liked.
Yeah, so like
Subscribe,
and share.
because sharing,
Is caring
and people won't know how much you care.
until they see how much you share. I get it that time. Yes, Storiers! Woo!